guess where I wanted to start off was when I listened to the record, the thing I kind of got from it is that each song seems to be about a very kind of self-contained story, and yet what unifies them is that they're all very kind of small, intimate stories that maybe wouldn't always be the focus at the center of a song. Have you always kind of been drawn to that form of storytelling, kind of looking at the very minute?
Yeah, well, I mean, it just so happened that every song was about a person, and these songs, it feels kind of like, to us, it feels like a compilation because, the oldest song on it was written about 5 years ago, and the newest was written about a year ago. Yeah, we do like to go for the mundane subject matters is just easier to sort of...
Well, yeah, the devil's in the details sort of thing.
Exactly.
But it was purely happenstance, so we didn't intend to do that. It was only on reflection. We noticed every track was about was more of a sort of a story rather than sort of painting an emotion or something like that.
They're all very much self-reflective, inward-looking songs, but it is just easier to be vulnerable when you're doing it through the vehicle of something or someone else, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it's that kind of age-old thing that you can tell more about the person describing the object rather than the description itself, rather than the object
exactly,
itself.
Yeah, so that's the idea.
Is it a different thing for you writing about a person you know as opposed to someone you've just read about?
I think it's easier. You can be more fantastical. You can be fantastical with people you know, but then
you're always fantastical.
Yes.
Wake up fantastical.
Yeah, but if it's with someone you kind of have to shroud it depending on the perspective. You don't want them to know it's about them.
Would you change the name?
Oh yeah, definitely.
So Jenny isn't actually called Jenny.
Jenny was someone we knew, but her name is not Jenny. But her name is in the song, but I won't say what her name
is. For God's sake.
Yeah.
Wait, so does Jenny know the song's about Jenny?
No, she doesn't. She probably doesn't care about us.
I mean, maybe now.
Maybe now.
Maybe now you've just told everyone. They said the fucking lyrics.
Yeah, the devil is in the details.
When you're writing a song about something like that you knew, are you very much trying to kind of condense them down into several of their main characteristics, or how are you kind of approaching working them into a song or writing a song through them?
Really just whittling them down to like a really basic, caricature. I don't think it's really such an honest depiction. We don't really know her that well, so it's just like a starting off point.
Exactly. Yeah.
So it's actually less personal than we're sort of intimating.
Yeah. It's in no way a personal attack on anyone. It's just it's a sort of tried and true subject matter, that one. And I guess we wanted to do something in that. Then that's the song that I mentioned that's 5 years old. So it is a little bit hard to talk about why we sung about Herbert.
Sung about Herbert.
She was just a typical.
Who's Herbert?
Herbert. I don't know. Herbert just spoke to us, I suppose.
You mentioned as well that when you don't know the person personally, you can kind of make it a little bit more fantastical. Would that apply to something like Mumunashu as well, this kind of cow god figure?
Can I just say it's such a pleasure hearing those words echoed out of someone else's mouth, because we've been living in this little Mumunashu thing for too long, and it's like having it out there now is truly gratifying.
It really is to hear a man in Aberdeenshire relaying that word to us, because that's the only made up character of the album. That and obviously Jamborini.
Obviously,
Mumunashu was just a character we kind of came up with in a bout of insanity, and I guess it was in our heads. It seemed to be some sort of faun, some divine faun, a bush creature. Yeah, I really.
I mean, we have actually attempted to sort of codify the the world, but it doesn't work. So better leave that one ambiguous.
Yeah, it was just nice to sort of picture some characters and try and give them a presence on the album. Yeah, we just loved the phonetically, the word Mumunashu, I think, really stuck with us for a while. And then it got to a point where we were actually changing certain lyrics in songs that we were performing with the word Mumunashu. And I guess putting him or her or it onto this album is sort of getting it out of our system. That'll be the end of Mumunashu and Jamboree.
Yeah. Catharsis.
Yeah.
How does Jamboree relate to Mumunashu? Were they very much coming from the same...
Jamboree came later, didn't he, Jules?
Yeah, well, we pictured a sort of epic rivalry between them.
Yeah.
And again, we tried to sort of put it to paper, but, why was the... I think the prevailing conclusion is that, acid is a hell of a drug.
Yeah.
That's what I would say.
Yeah, the sort of their presence on the album was, I guess, came from the fact that last song, the final smackdown between Mumunashu and Jamboree, it was one of those titles when you save a Logic project, you just write the first thing that comes to your head. So, and then it just stayed. And so when we wanted to do skits, we thought, let's kind of play on that and try and push this as a faux concept album.
It's also noteworthy that pretty much all our song titles came about that same way.
Yeah. Well, yeah, not really on this album.
Maybe.
But certainly at the moment, it seems like unable to move away, because you just do the first thing that comes to your head, and then you know it as that, and you can't possibly think of that song as something else. So now our songs are called like Saba and Samusa and all this just ridiculous words.
Yeah. Would that function as well for something like Thank You Will Shortz? Like, does that start from the title in any way?
That started from the chords, actually. The chords for the chorus were knocking around for a while, and then the hook, the backing vocal hook, came in. I guess it was a time where that was really an important part of my life, was that crossword. So I just love writing odes, and I guess that comes from my love for people like Jonathan Richman, who have so many songs about like things he loves, like Vincent van Gogh or baseball players, or even like a chewing gum wrapper he sees on the floor. And I love that idea of writing an ode to something mundane but important to you, and then it always ends in a kind of morose, introspective way. And that brings it back to you and your sadness and plight. There
is a sweetness about that song overall as well, though.
Yeah, I guess so. I mean, it's definitely very innocent subject matter. And I don't know. I mean, that's an example of becoming fantastical. Obviously, I don't know Will Shortz, but if you listen to the lyrics, like, sounds like I'm trying to imbue his crosswords with pain. Like he's trying to hint at his own. Pain in his crosswords, which is a ridiculous idea.
Well, you're saying that he's leaving clues to his own mental state in the crossword.
Yeah,
maybe he is. He's trying to tell us something.
Yeah, could be.
He's hurting, man.
It should be noted that he's the editor, and they have various. I've got the crossword in front of me right now.
Do you still do it every day?
I do it most days. I have the app now. But for example, I got the paper today. This one, the puzzle is by Kevin Patterson, but Will Shortz just edits them. He makes some. Will Shortz's time is more invested now in ping pong, actually. He's a competitive ping pong player, and he heads a tournament in America, yeah.
How old is he?
He's in his 40s or 50s, I think.
Oh, but you should see him move around the court.
Here's a really interesting thing, actually, I read. He did his first ever crossword in November of 1993, which is the month that I was born, and he did about one a day. And so he did his 10,000th. I happened to keep track of when my 10,000th day was coming, and it was but a few days after Will Shortz's 10,000th puzzle was published, which is kind of cool.
Wow.
Yeah.
And this was, you found this out after you wrote the song, obviously.
Yeah, I found it out, about a month. It happened a month ago.
Dude, it's fucking beautiful, man.
Pretty awesome. Around about the same time as the single came out, which is just mad. And I wanted to try and talk about that publicly, but people would have thought, no one cares. Yeah.
I care, man.
Thanks, man.
What's your kind of optimum day? Because they get harder every day in the week, right?
Yeah, exactly. I'd say Tuesday is great. Monday is almost too easy. Tuesday and Wednesday is great. I've read somewhere that Thursday is the hardest, and Thursday and Saturday are equally hard, and Friday's not as hard. I don't know.
I think Thursday's the same one as Sunday, though, isn't it? Like they try and match the difficulty.
That's it, yeah. Are you a big crossword guy?
Nah, not so much now. Used to be a little bit, because when you get the paper, there's always one kicking about, isn't there?
Yeah. Which one would you do?
If I was getting the paper.
Yeah, which paper?
I would probably just get the Times, but not the New York Times, the British.
Do you do the cryptic one?
No. That's too challenging for my
I've never
capabilities.
Tried.
But yeah, I always thought it's interesting what you're saying there about kind of finding the darkness in the song. Is that almost like, if you imagine what you're saying there about how the puzzle gets harder as the week goes on, could you see that as a reflection for you kind of going through the week?
Yeah, I mean, there's the lyric, every Monday, you make me hungry, and by Friday I feel so ugly. And that's, I guess, it's just pretty standard, I feel good when I can do the crossword all at once, and I feel bad when I get stumped at the first hurdle. But I think that the reason I chose to add the whole subtext of Will Shortz being a sad man is just, it's easier to write a sad song. And it's more, it's just more interesting than writing just a plain song about how much you love crosswords. Although there's merit in that. I mean, it's mostly that, but I don't know. It just, the subject naturally tends to go that way. I don't know why. Maybe that's
got to create some drama.
Yeah.
What else helps get you through the week then? If we've got the crossword every day, what are the other little things in the day that help see you through it?
Apart from like poached eggs, and a nice bath, not much really.
At the moment, certainly, those things. Me and Jules both love to cook, so food, nice meals.
Yeah, I had some Turkish eggs this morning.
Oh, nice! What with the yogurt?
Yeah, the yogurt. But I put the garlic in the chili butter instead of in the yogurt. Just take the edge off a bit,
Yeah. Oh, nice.
Yeah, a bit of dill.
Oh, good shit.
Radishes.
Okay.
Mushrooms.
I was thinking next time I'll do it with labneh instead of yogurt.
Oh, you whore.
It is crazy to think about the link between like food and mental health though. Like if you just eat shit all the time, you feel awful.
Oh yeah.
Whereas if you try and like eat a balanced diet, it does help in a really kind of big way, even if it is just subconsciously.
For sure.
Yeah. 100%. I've stopped eating a whole packet of biscuits every night, and the benefits, they speak for themselves.
Yeah.
It's funny, we're talking about the kind of sweetness of enjoying the crossword puzzle and how you were trying to find the darkness in that to create a slight tension. When it's a story like Joyce Vincent, are you almost trying to do the opposite? Are you trying to find a light in that story?
That's a very interesting point. I guess so. It would be, I don't want to say too easy, but maybe so. Yeah, just to write a sad song about a sad thing, because it's an incredibly sad thing. Yeah, I guess that was subconsciously an effort to offset the sadness, add some sort of fantastical element. Of course, she has relatives and friends who we have to be sensitive with topics like these. But at the same time, the whole point of this song is she didn't really have anyone who was able to know that she was dead for 2 years in her house. So, yeah, I guess that is what I was trying to do. Yeah.
I mean, when you listen to it and you don't know the story and you kind of have those lines about her, you know, dancing up and down the corridors on a Friday night, that sounds really bright. But then when you know the story, there's almost like an eeriness to it.
Yeah. I kind of wanted it to sound, like a kid's, like a children's book story, you know, little Joycey.
You're fucked up, man.
It's fucked up, but I like, I guess bittersweetness is something that I really, I love bittersweet melodies and bittersweet subject matters. You know, like the Pet Sounds is a great example of an album that does that. Or Hey Ya by Outkast.
What's he saying in Hey Ya?
He's talking from the point of view of a guy who is trying to convince a girl that he loves her, but really just wants to have sex with her.
Oh, right.
And leave her.
Oh, how's that like Joyce?
Because it's a happy, clappy song, but with a sad,
got you,
dark, subject matter.
When you read that story for the first time and you think about turning it into a song, does your mind immediately go to that bittersweet idea?
No, to be honest. But I guess I think a couple other people have written a song about her, about that. You know,
there's a movie as well, I think, wasn't there?
There was. I haven't seen it. There was a documentary called Dreams of a Life. Yeah, I tried watching it, but it's all these people. I didn't really. Who say they were her friends, and they're all quite sad about the whole thing. But I don't know. It just doesn't add up. Like, how come they couldn't have been that fond of her if they didn't check on her for 2 years? You know? Yeah,
even if someone's pushing you away, if you really care about them, you still put forth the effort.
Yeah.
I guess it's harder though, because this was in the days before like social media and stuff, when you could just text someone or try and phone.
Exactly. Yeah, and there's all these horrible little details about the story, because obviously it produces a smell, but her neighbours thought that the smell was coming from the bins, which was right next to her flat.
Pretty harrowing stuff.
Harrowing, yeah.
When did you first come upon that story, actually?
A while ago, actually. Well, yeah, two years ago. That's when it was written. I don't know how, but it just came up.
Probably something in the New York Times.
Yeah, maybe something like that.
Was that the first time you'd heard about it?
Yeah. It was like 2 years ago. I was in bed with a broken foot, Achilles tendon, just surfing the internet all the time, and came across it and thought it would be good to write a song about it. Just like, I don't know, it really resonated. That all the imagery connected to the story was sort of very potent.
Kind of adds another layer of sadness to it too, when you'd never heard about it.
Yeah, exactly.
When you read that, does it kind of make you think about your impact on the world and your impact upon other people? Do you kind of frame some of the deeper themes of that in the context of your own life?
Absolutely. I mean, I thought it was quite fitting that it came out this winter, which is like, to me, seemed like a time where a lot of people were struggling with mental health, and it seems like a collective feeling of loneliness and isolation, obviously, at the moment. And it does. I did hope that the lyrics resonated with people feeling that way, and not that it offers a solution, but it's just nice to hear a take on it, you know.
Was that kind of part of your thinking when you released it?
No, actually. It just happened to... it was written before COVID even happened, and then it just so happened that it came out at that time, and it was kind of perfect, really. So, yeah, we were gonna have a music video that sort of echoed these ideas of. It was going to be an animated video by a friend of a friend. He pulled out, unfortunately, about a week before, which is why we ended up with this kind of slapdash video on YouTube. I don't know if you saw it. Is
this the one where you're playing guitar?
Yeah, and there's the VHS.
I quite like it though, with the kind of like VHS footage of like the sea and stuff.
Oh, thanks. Yeah, that's yeah. It was just so this guy who was going to make this animated video of the kind of embodied the original idea of it being like a children's story. It was going to be of a woman in her flat, and she's like flies away, and I don't really know. He sent us a storyboard, and then I unearthed all this VHS footage that I'd had lying about. Some of which was from about 3 or 4 years ago when we lived in Bristol, and some of which was from Brighton. Obviously, the sea and the starling footage was from then, and we just spliced that together. And
I thought it looked wicked, man.
Thanks, dude.
Bit of a blessing in the end, I'd say.
Yeah, I'd say
There's
so.
something nice in the simplicity of it, especially when the story is kind of touching upon those themes. Because a lot of the video kind of shows you together, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Kind of just hanging out.
Yeah, exactly. Just
kind of juxtaposes the story itself.
Yeah, exactly. I guess that's it.
Where did the Eddie Murphy video come from?
Well, it was just pretty much the first idea that our mates shot back at us, and that's it. We just didn't really look backwards from there. So it's the song is kind of I guess a bit absurd in its lyrical content, if you can even call it content. So it just felt fitting, just kind of bring out the, I guess, satirical sort of element of it, sort of not the, play on the lighter side of it, because it's quite unashamed, like R&B tunes, quite cheesy. So it'd be good to just sort of embrace that a bit,
It's interesting that, what we've kind of been talking about here with those two music videos, where you obviously explore the story in the song, and then you get an opportunity to explore the story or the themes from another point of view with a music video. Are there any other ways you have that you can kind of examine it in another form?
Well, I draw. I do some like cartoons.
Jules is a great illustrator.
Cartoons and stuff. It's kind of what I used to sort of. That was my main thing when I was a kid. But I do kind of see them as separate things, if that's what you're asking.
Yeah, just kind of coming at the story from different perspectives.
Yeah. But that said, we are, we have been talking about trying to merge those two worlds. Jules loves to draw, and I like to write. And we were talking about doing a children's book, which got half written and then abandoned about a couple months ago.
How come?
I guess just music was more of a priority at the time. It's still there. I think it still will get finished. But a rather nice way in which Jules's drawings are getting brought in is if you see the images of the vinyl that's coming out, that's unfortunately been pushed back. Jules designed the whole inner sleeve, and with illustrations for each song, in the classic Jules style.
Yeah, that was fun.
Yeah,
that was really fun. All the little details and just sort of like, just capping it all off in a way.
Yeah,
I enjoyed drawing you, of course.
Me?
Yeah.
Yeah. Jules is a caricaturist. Well, not really.
I'm not one of those guys down on the pier.
No, but I'm always, what do you call that? My extremities are extremized.
Yeah, no, obviously, caricature. Yeah, exactly. That's it.
When you were doing the stuff for the inner sleeve, were you kind of picking a specific image from the song and turning it into a drawing, or were you trying to pick something that encapsulated the song as a whole?
Well, that was the idea, but I found it a bit difficult. So I sort of started out just doing my classic, like I draw a lot of cats and animals and stuff. So I always sort of resort to that. So I started off doing that, but then, bit by, when you got to the later ones, it was sort of flowing better. So I got some sort of relevant imagery in there. But mostly it is just animals, just like holding a microphone and that sort of thing. It's kind of cute.
Do you feel like there are different aspects of yourself that you're tapping into for your drawing than you are to your music?
Yeah, I'd say actually it's the same things I'm tapping into. I think if I think about it, it's I love detail, like sort of obsessing over tiny little things, and that reflects in how long it takes me to produce stuff and just like, getting in with the production side of things. So it's kind of, it's the same deal really. Just like doing little, I don't do like sort of messy sort of drawings. They're quite, sort of precise and meticulous, if you see what I mean. So yeah, actually maybe it is just it's all sort of the same thing really.
Yeah, I mean, you could look at a parallel as well between if you're kind of drawing various characters, it's kind of the same thing as what the songs are doing, what we're saying, where everyone kind of is centered around a specific person.
Yeah. Yeah, I suppose, that's an interesting way of looking at it.
Yeah.
That eye for detail you're talking about there, is that something that's changed since you've started exploring it through music or drawing or art in any way?
No, I don't think so, It's always been
a perfectionist.
Always been that way, yeah. But that can obviously get in the way of it. Can actually sort of turn into procrastination, obviously. So it's there's a balance.
Procrastination can be quite an important part of the process as well, though. When you kind of get into that space where you're kind of a little bit distracted, and then some interesting ideas come out.
That's true.
Yeah, Jules was saying something interesting the other day, which I find the exact same thing. It's like sometimes the best riffs or chord progressions or whatever have come out when you're kind of half playing the guitar. When someone's talking to you or you're listening to something, maybe you're watching TV and you've got the guitar in your hand and you're kind of, I guess, procrastinating, but something great because you're thinking less.
Exactly.
Whenever you sit down to write a tune, you sit down and grab a guitar and it just doesn't work, or it's just contrived or something.
I guess part of that is also you're probably just more relaxed in that state. Yeah.
Is there anything you can do to try and cultivate that out with just it occurring naturally? That kind of relaxed, slightly distracted headspace.
I think
I know it's something that Jules does to cultivate that,
What, get really, really high?
Yeah, that's the ticket.
Well, no, actually, I'm recently finding that. Actually, I don't know. It depends. It can be an impediment with communication, certainly. But if you're just doing your own thing.
But on a serious note,
on a serious note, it's probably more about knowing when to sort of just like leave it. Give it a go, and then it's just like, no, this is bullshit. Let's just leave it for today and just try another time.
How long will you try? And if something isn't quite working, how long will you go at it for before you just decide to leave it?
Sometimes too long. Like with demoing this track at the moment, and there's this solo section, and I tried all sorts of different things to get to it, and we spent a whole afternoon just messing around with this like super intricate like 2-part guitar solo, like kind of a bit like sort of Steely Dan vibe. And we just sort of got bogged down so much in the detail. You just you lose the actual bigger picture.
Going like note by note. When we stopped and listened back, it was terrible.
Absolutely hideous. Yeah. But we forget what sounds good. And literally just like minutes before we did this podcast, just redid it with trombone instead, and it just all fell into place. So it's that's about arrangement, really.
So you wrote it on guitar and then you played it on trombone?
No, I had a sort of the melody-wise they're different, but with trombone in mind, I did have a sort of vague outline and just fleshed it out with Charlie, who's joined our band recently. But I guess invariably that you just sort of like hum tunes and just figure it out together,
Yeah. You said the melody changed as well.
Pardon? Yeah. Well, of the solo, really. I mean, I guess you got to play to different instrument strengths. Changed as in
accentuating different notes, or changed completely, like a completely fresh melody?
Sort of pretty much a fresh melody, because there's certain things you can't do on the trombone that you can on the guitar, and vice versa. I guess in that case, it was just about figuring out what flavor. It's just like different flavors, isn't it? That solo, I guess, was the wrong flavor. It was like if if you got like a tagine and you're garnishing it with like the wrong thing. If you put fucking ketchup on it, it's like, what are you doing?
So it wouldn't be the worst thing.
Yeah. Hey, terrible analogies. Let's move on.
It's interesting to think about that, the fact that you can go from guitar to like the other end of the spectrum with trombone, something completely different. Because the thing about the record and the songs on their own is they all feel like they take place in their own little worlds and they're all very cohesive. At what point will you start to put down the limitations for like the ballpark of like textures or sounds that you're going to play with? Like, is that song that you're working on today, is that early on in the process you're completely changing it up, or?
Well, I guess it sort of reveals itself over the course of the recording, because it's sort of right through whilst recording. But it could be really early on, like in this case, because of the rhythm, and I don't know, I had it in my head. I wanted it to be like an old 50s sort of tune, like quite Burt Bacharach style. And it just so happened that he's got like loads of trombone, and it's just sort of made sense.
So once you've made that decision for what you kind of want it to be, will you go back and listen to a lot of that stuff?
Oh yeah, obviously there's constant revision. So yeah, that's always one of the biggest challenges. It's just committing to an idea and not deviating from it. But oftentimes the last minute deviations I'm truly grateful for, so.
And it is usually when you bring someone new, a new set of ears or hands into the mix.
Yeah, for sure.
So would you try and develop it reasonably far as individuals before taking it to the other to get that new set of hands in the mix?
Sometimes, but now we have like, because we have a trombone player and also our bassist now plays the cello fairly well. It's kind of a new thing, bringing in people to play instruments like that. Up until then, it was really just the bare guitar, bass and drums, which we could kind of do ourselves.
But again, none of it's deliberate. It's just you got to move on from just the one instrument. You get tired of it. You start to feel its limitation. And I guess it just so happens that we have these new flavors at our disposal, so they're the ones that are being used.
When was the last time you learned a new instrument?
I'm sort of teaching myself drums at the minute, not very rigorously, but by just virtue of my room being the practice space and having the drums in it, I just trying to get a bit better at that. And it's just out of a feeling, just a desire to be a bit more self-sufficient. If I don't have access to Albert, the drummer, I can just lay down a beat and just get on with it.
Have you found it's impacted your songwriting? Because I imagine if you're just beginning to start learning, or you're kind of in the early stages, a lot of the beats you'll be laying down will be quite simple.
Yeah. They've always been quite simple. I guess I've never written with rhythm so much in mind, but that is changing. And I guess I listen out for rhythm a lot more than I used to when I hear music. I never used to really notice the drums.
Yeah. I'm the same. I remember when we first met Albert, and he'd always be like, "I love the drums in this song," and I'd be like, "What? Are there drums?" I don't know. You, as a guitarist or a songwriter, you kind of focus more on the melodies and the guitar and the words. But yeah, I do find it kind of limiting that neither of us are very good at the drums and the nature in which we write songs. It's like, we've got too many songs with just the same drum beat,
Can you play bass?
Yeah, we both can. To
a reasonable degree, I'd say.
Yeah.
I think everyone's always very blasé about the bass. They're like, well, yeah, of course I can play the bass. So basically everyone can play bass by their own standards.
Yeah.
No, I just thought it was interesting what you were saying there about how a lot of your drum beats were kind of similar, because I thought that if you write the bass of the song, that might have informed where the rest of the rhythm section goes. So if each song kind of has a different thing going on bass-wise, that would then allow the drums to go in a different direction.
Oh yeah, for sure. Well, that's what's so good about fleshing out with a real drummer and just other people.
Where a lot of our rhythmic variation comes from is in the bass, which is why you might find that it tends to be quite high in the mix on the album. That's where we sort of flex our rhythmic muscles as best we can, Yeah.
What's the significance of 10,645 miles?
It's a distance, the specific nature of which I won't disclose, just to, not reveal everything. But it's just like about long, relationships and how distances can get in the way and that sort of thing.
Is it the distance between two individual places?
Yeah.
Well, two individual people in those places.
I just, I thought it was, I don't know what I think. I don't think really anything.
It's a nice focal point for,
Yeah, that's what
for
I'm
a
trying
classic
to say.
sort of subject matter to actually focus on the...
Yeah, you
the
can't
distance in
just
such
call
a
the song
specific
like,
way.
"Oh, I miss you, I'm so sad."
Yeah.
So it's just something like that. Just
Yeah.
It's interesting that you follow a song about distance with a song, Eddie Murphy, which is kind of touching upon heartbreak. Were they kind of coming from the same narrative in your life? The same story?
I don't know. I guess it's like a recurring like perspective that I write from. If you see what I mean. It's just easy to draw from. As you say, heartbreak and stuff. Those are all things we've all had, and it's a nice little well of emotion that you can draw from. So it's bound to pop up. Whether it's like the same, specific, circumstances in my life, that's probably not the case.
Are there any other wells that you find you can often go back to if you're in need of inspiration?
Well, I don't know. I've been trying to get away from that. I think I've exhausted that particular well of inspiration. I don't know. You can write about anything. Obviously, I'm just trying to get better at that, I suppose. And I guess the new storytelling aspect of the last release is like a development in some sense. But that's mostly your songs, to be honest, though, Rashid.
Yeah, but I mean, your songs on it are quite like they are still old ones.
Yeah, it's true.
They're the older ones. Yeah, the newer songs, I guess, are more varied in subject matter. Yeah.
When you said there, Jules, as well, that you wanted to kind of move away from going back to those wells a little bit, how do you actually do that? How do you kind of consciously invoke that shift?
I'd probably have a girlfriend that doesn't leave you.
Have a girlfriend who's not a bitch.
I don't know. Yeah, obviously just can't really consciously change these things. It's whatever. You're going to write about whatever. So I don't know. I guess childhood is a good one. And I feel like that's something I've not explored much until recently. I feel like there's a lot you could write about. Just
because it happened so long ago, your mind doesn't come back to it too often, or? Yeah.
And I suppose so. I suppose maybe also at a point in my life where I've never really, I'm starting to look back a little bit. I'm not that I'm, old, that old or anything, but I don't know.
I didn't know that.
What?
That you were starting to write about childhood?
Yeah, just this new one I'm doing at the minute.
Are you able to identify why you're kind of looking back to childhood a little bit more?
God, I didn't. This is almost feeling a bit like therapy now. Well, it's just usually it's always like, oh, where did the name Spang Sisters come from? And
this is a truly great interview, though.
And if you were an object, what shape would it be, or something like that?
I'll get the Rorschach test out.
Yeah, I really feel like I'm being stripped down here. I don't know. I just, reaching late 20s, I suppose.
Have you always been quite reflective? Like, do you find yourself looking back often, or are you quite kind of focused looking ahead?
No, the first one, definitely. I guess that suits the job of songwriter.
I mean, I guess songwriting tends to be quite a reflective thing.
Yeah, absolutely. Although you're never aware of it so much at the time. It's a lot of the time you sort of read back and you're like, oh yeah, okay, fair. That makes sense. But at the time, it sort of does feel a bit disjointed. Like you're not quite sure how it's adding up.
It's quite interesting to see where your mind goes, subconsciously.
Yeah, sometimes it's mortifying. You're like, oh my good Lord, I better get rid of this. No way.
Yeah. I think maybe one of the reasons, if I may be so bold, as to analyze you, Jules.
Oh God, it continues.
No, it's just I think we've been at such a. It's been so difficult to conjure up lyrical content this past year. After a certain point, having such little stimulus, you have to start digging inwards.
Yeah.
So personally, for me, a lot of it has been about fear of death. A lot of mortality.
Oh yeah, you love that.
I love it.
I've spoken about that in the last 3 podcasts. It seems to be a recurring theme amongst musicians at the moment.
Maybe you just bring it out of us. I got you all nice and quiet in my ear, asking me about my childhood.
I wear you down over the course of the interview, so by the end you're just thinking about death. You can't escape it.
Oh my word.
I was just going to say it's been a very introspective year in terms of lyric writing. Before I think we both felt as though that inspiration comes from people you meet or things you see or just like experiences, and when that's lacking, you got to go in.
Can that be daunting?
Oh, more often than not, I'd say so. I mean, it's rare that you'll spend time periods of long introspection and come out with something happy. We're happy people, though.
We really are.
Yeah. But
we're just indulging a little bit.
A little bit, yeah. It's not too daunting, to be honest, Alex. But it just, I guess we both like sad music as well. I can't think of many happy songs that I love.
Yeah, I thought "Hey Ya" was a happy song before we started this.
Oh, right, yeah.
The blinds have been lifted.
Yeah, that's what we're here for.
We hope to have sufficiently dimmed your outlook on things.
You mentioned a few moments ago about this idea of you might not be fully aware of what's going on with it in the moment, but then a little bit down the line it adds up and you kind of see it a little clearer in what you're writing about and you see yourself in it. When that happens, does that change the way you then, when you go back to the song, will you develop it in a slightly different direction once you've had that revelation?
Personally, no. I'd say it's always best to just roll with it. If your brain takes you somewhere, because it feels natural, and you wanna try and harness that raw feeling. So I always try and just go on autopilot, if that makes sense, as much as possible. Yeah,
like what we were saying earlier about how when you're coming up with a riff and you're not fully focused, it can be the best stuff. Turning off that part of your brain that's analyzing yourself.
Yeah. It's just interesting to see. I feel like most great pieces of art might have come out that way. Just you follow your heart
off the cuff.
Yeah.
I will say it can be a bit difficult, sort of being off the cuff when you're just doing it, in your room, just recording track by track.
Definitely.
That is quite a sort of clinical sort of way to make music. You're not just in a room with people and anything could happen then.
But at the same time, it's kind of liberating to be alone because you're more at ease to be vulnerable. I find it kind of hard to ad-lib in front of other people lyrically. Melodically, it's all right, but it's quite easy when you're alone in your room at night. Yeah, that's actually for me how a lot of subject matters begin. How one phrase sounds good in the melody and chords that you have, and then you're like, okay, what does that mean? Where's that coming from? And then you build around that.
Yeah.
Will Shortz, I guess, would have been an example of that. Yeah, I guess for some reason, Thank You, Will Shortz came out, and I was like, okay, let's write a song about Will Shortz.
I've seen that moment when the sort of light goes off in your eyes a bit, and like, and like the subject matter reveals itself.
Yeah,
like when I was telling you the other day
about Alison.
Yeah, about Alison.
Yeah.
Do you know about Allicin, Alex?
No, Alison.
Yeah, it's this chemical that's released when you crush a bulb of garlic, or a clove of garlic.
Okay.
And it just so happens it shares, it's a woman's name, you know, so there's so much potential there for a song. Yeah.
It's funny that you find out about that and straight away your mind's kind of thinking of these lyrical possibilities and the kind of metaphors and things you could do with it.
Yeah. That's what was entertaining about that for me. Is just constantly taking everything through that prism.
Could it make everyday life a little bit more interesting though, if you're constantly reacting to it in that way?
I guess that's a good way of looking at it. I've found myself sort of being a bit just disappointed at myself. I can't have like a thought, an interesting thought or observation without immediately thinking of how I can try and paste this onto a song or something.
Yeah, like why can't you just be in the moment?
Exactly.
It's kind of like having a selfie stick. Always, you know?
I like that analogy.
Yeah, I said it and then I was like, does it add up?
There's an example of your mind just subconsciously doing the work, you know?
Yeah, man.
For you. Autopilot, there's a lot to be said for it.
Yeah, man. Refer you to Straw Dogs, written by John Gray.
It's been a pleasure, guys.
Yeah.
Totally.
Truly.
Totally, yeah.